Just tell me what happened that night.
Well, that night I went to sleep. It was about 3 in the morning. I felt a presence in the room, and I felt numbness crawl up from my toes.
The most important aspect of this case is that the abductions that have been reported have taken place in a kind of concealed way, covertly, so there's no audience, people don't see it. But this case, exactly the opposite happened. The UFO occupants wanted this to be seen. They waited till they had stopped a procession of cars with important political figures, and then turned on all their lights so everyone around could see this. Floated people in broad, bright light in the middle of the night out into 12 stories off the ground, and then lifted them into the craft because they wanted this to be seen.
I'd just married Bud Hopkins in 1996 and was starting to fall under the spell of the abduction phenomenon.
Did they come through the wall this time too? Where were you?
I didn't know what was happening to all of these perfectly sane people. But their stories were an alluring blend of something genuinely mysterious and otherworldly.
This is so outside of everyone's frame of reference or interest or anything else until they have some experience like you had.
To see two things come around with no noise and join, get closer and closer and closer until they become one. That just doesn't happen. You don't see that in the sky.
But why didn't you tell anybody?
I'm just a very private person. I don't want notoriety.
I started filming Bud's work as a way of coming to understand it better. What followed was an event that started to ring a series of alarm bells in me. I began to have some doubts about my new husband's most fiercely defended UFO abduction case.
Any telephones we'll need to take off of the hook.
Yeah.
All right.
We can do that.
Behind pictures.
The evening started off with an entertaining new experience for me. A visitor was sweeping our house for bugs, the kind that might have been planted to spy on us.
The area here, but you still conduct the hypnotherapy sessions down.
The support groups and hypnosis we do downstairs.
All right. Okay. We're clear.
It wasn't clear to me whether I should take this seriously or not.
Very great. Super. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.
My pleasure.
Everything's okay?
Yeah,
Everything's
clean and
okay.
everything.
Right.
But some people in the UFO community believed that what they knew about UFOs and the alien agenda made them persons of interest to the FBI. Linda Cortila was Bud's most famous abductee. Witness, the book based on her story, was about to come out, and Bud had staked his entire reputation on this sweeping, highly dramatic story.
So Sal and I sitting at the seaport.
But I was starting to realize that Linda's case was far from over.
Miserable and damp. I couldn't concentrate because there was this man sitting behind us. He was facing me, but behind Sal.
Yeah.
And he was just staring at me, and he was wearing this hat. He still had his trench coat on.
Do you think he wanted you to think that he was watching you?
Yes.
No, he wasn't being. The guy is really, going to be concealing. He's not going to.
He was deliberate.
Yeah.
I came away feeling it was a deliberate act to intimidate me.
Yeah.
It was almost as though maybe he thought he was Humphrey Bogart walking through the fog.
Yeah.
And he put his hand in his coat.
Yeah.
And very slowly pulled it out, and here I'm trapped.
Yeah.
No way I could have escaped. And all I could do was sit there helplessly and say this.
Yeah.
Very well dressed, very handsome.
Yeah.
He reminded me of Clark Kent, in a way. And then he came out with nothing.
You thought he was drawing.
He just stared.
A
Yeah, I
gun
thought
or
he was
something?
drawing a gun. And he saw him walking very slowly, and he was staring at Sal and I, staring and staring. He went away. That was very intimidating. So here you have this phantom of a gray van, you know, appearing a couple of months ago.
You want to tell us about that?
Well, and I, you know, no, I didn't want to tell anybody, but
But we've been talking about wiretapping. We've been talking about you not knowing.
I had an eye doctor appointment, and Connie was in town, and she wasn't going to go with me. She
Is
said,
Connie sort of your age?
she's a little older, just a couple of years
But
older.
roughly, yeah.
Pretty too. She's really pretty.
See, she's new to me in your conversation, so I don't, yeah.
And so it was running late, and I had a 10:30 appointment. And it crossed my mind, gee whiz, you know, they have vans now.
Mm-hmm.
You know how interesting.
Yeah.
So I opened up the van door,
Yeah.
it slid open, you know, and you have to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And I stepped up, and
Back
there is,
door, I assume.
yeah, in the back.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back is a man crouched down, just crouched down, and grabbed my wrist.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm yelling all over the place. And I'm screaming and yelling. Connie is coming, right?
Right.
Connie sees what's going on.
Yeah.
And she grabbed me from my waist, and she's yelling and screaming now, and she's pulling me back, but she's not getting anywhere. But before that, you know, he's pulling me by my wrists, and she's pulling me by my waist. That hurts. So I continuously pounded him on the top of his head with my fist. This way, though, like a jackhammer. And he let go.
What happened to the car, the van?
The door slammed.
Uh-huh.
We ran across Catherine and up Cherry Street
Yeah.
towards the entrance.
It sounds like, to me, that they were trying to grab you to interrogate you. That's what it sounds like.
Linda, were they dressed as street
No,
thugs?
no,
How were
they
they
were
dressed?
dressed well.
What do you mean,
Was the van
Well,
battered
they
up,
wore
or was
suits.
did it look good, or what was the van
No,
look
the
like?
van was a good
Well-
looking van.
Linda, look, Andy walks down streets, Carol does, I do. This doesn't happen to us.
I should have.
I wasn't sure why a researcher would hear a report like this and A, immediately assume it was true, and B, immediately connect it to Linda's now 7-year-old abduction case. But I hadn't known her nearly as long as Bud had, so I waited to see what he'd do.
Linda, I wish you'd tell me
These and
these things.
these.
I need to know these things. When they happen, I need to know them. I really do. You know, I mean, I really need to know.
You know, I really wasn't sure if it was case related because it's been
Listen,
such a
listen,
long time
listen,
now. You
why-
know,
you
after
know-
all these years, they're going to still bother me. What do they want from me?
Linda, look at it this way. If I'm the doctor in this in some crazy way, you don't go to a doctor and say, "Oh, I got this crazy symptom, and it's really the weirdest damn symptom in the world." But I'm not going to mention it to him because it's probably not connected with any known disease. You don't do that. If you got a crazy symptom, you go and you mention it.
I should. Oh, then it was a couple of months ago.
This is June. Early part
Yeah,
of
that's
June.
right.
Yeah.
We were in
Well,
July.
I want to call. Can I call you at home and get
Sure.
Connie's number? And
Sure.
call her?
Connie goes back and forth. It would be nice if you could meet her.
I'd like to meet her, sure. But the thing is that I really feel, Linda, that it's important that you and I be, what's the term?
Stick together.
Yeah, we have to be allies.
And we are.
We have to look at each thing that happens and try to figure it out. And
But I don't want to be on the sidelines, watching them debunk, watching you write all the rebuttals and the yelling.
no, you
and the
won't be.
screaming.
No, you won't be.
No, I want to get up there.
But I mean, you
I
see,
want to tell them
but you
things
see,
to myself.
But you see,
In
well,
this case, I really should have gone to the
we can talk about this and to see. I mean, you relate the experience, and that lets me think about it, and the two of us can talk about it and try to decide what to come up with. Yeah, but you just told me the story that Connie then becomes yet somebody else involved in this. In a way, she is. She's yet another witness. I mean, God knows she's witness number, I don't know where we are. I mean, we have virtually, I think it's about 20 people involved.
I felt uneasy about the nature of this relationship. Bud and Linda saw themselves as collaborators, deciding the best way to present their story in public.
I had 2 fragmented memories.
This wasn't like any research I'd ever known. For many years, I'd made films with scientists. They went about getting new knowledge in a different way, by following strict research protocols. They gathered objective data, and every aspect of their research was reviewed by other experts along the way. Those tools helped researchers stay objective, helped them stay close to the data and not fall into the world reported by the subject.
That was a bad one.
Yeah.
I hope they didn't do that to my children. That whatever they did in the back, they stick a needle in your back, you know. Boy, I sure hope. I hope they didn't do that to my kids, or anybody else's kids for that matter. Somebody better do something.
About the kids.
I was starting to realize that alien abduction research had none of those safeguards for the getting of truth.
I don't know what to say, Mulder. Where to begin? I mean, you were right.
And that night, the phone rang. Bud answered, not saying much, but a peculiar look came over his face. When he hung up, I asked who it was. He said, "That was Linda, pretending to be your cousin Connie." I wondered why Bud wasn't more upset. He just told me that the subject of his most important case had pretended to be Cousin Connie, witness number 20 to the Brooklyn Bridge UFO abductions. But he never mentioned it again and continued his staunch support of the case.
What I've written about. Ultimately, I found out that the 2 government agents and this world important leader were also abducted that night, right along with Linda Cortila. The debunkers' attack on this, of course, is that the whole thing is a gigantic hoax involving maybe 20 people. Linda would have to be paying these people all off to make up all these stories. They would all have to be trained, at the night of the whole thing. We have sat and talked at length about what happened to her. I have absolute confidence in her truthfulness.
Io sono sicura che questo anno non stia mentendo, che dica la verità. E ho avuto modo e li chiamerò
Now, again, the woman on the bridge, the drawing she made.
But it seemed to me that a UFO researcher had an obligation to determine how trustworthy a subject was before he made the case public, especially a subject making the extraordinary claims that Linda Cortila was making. Here's a partial list of her claims, although not all of these made it into the book. The last one was a much talked about issue. Was Linda making money off her story? Skeptics said that if she was, money could be a strong motivation for Linda to come up with a story that fit Bud's expectations, and one with enough high drama and intrigue that Hollywood would come calling too. But outside interviewers had found it impossible to get the matter clearly resolved. Privately, Linda had told a critic that she had an agreement to split the book's profits with Bud. But at a meeting in Hopkins' home, Bud denied that she was splitting the revenue with him. Linda then claimed that she deliberately planted disinformation. So what was the story? As far as anybody could tell, Linda had no profit motive. In 1997, one of the most popular listservs on the internet ran these comments by Linda Cortila about the money issue. Noble feelings on Linda's part. The only problem was, I knew they weren't true. In fact, Linda had been extremely interested in getting her share of profits from the book. A top-notch entertainment lawyer had been hired to draft this letter of agreement. It was faxed to Bud's agent on August 11, 1995, and signed by both Bud and Linda. And so it was 2 years later that she was still publicly claiming that her profit from the book was a mere token. It filled one cavity. That would have to be a hell of a big cavity, because the truth is that Linda stood to profit substantially if Witness became a bestseller or got made into a movie, the way Bud's book Intruders had. If the book gets made into a movie, that's where the real money is. And this is Linda's share of that. For either a 5-figure or 6-figure advance, this is Linda's share of the story. When the book goes to paperback or foreign publication, which Witness did, here is Linda's percentage of that.
Now he's going to be a lap ferret. Oh, he's going to be a lap ferret.
Tell me this, are you bored with the Witness case at this point? Or
No.
Can you still talk about it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever think you'll have a case to top it? In terms of its intrigue?
I hope so. I mean, obviously, you always hope for, what is it, madder wine and a stronger meat or something. Every year that goes by since the case, and now it's 10 years going on 11, you get, with all the people involved in it, you get more and more absolutely rock solid the case that this could not possibly be an organized hoax, because obviously the more time that goes on with so many people involved, the more likely it is that somebody comes forward. Just as none of the people involved in the Brooklyn Bridge case, not one has ever come forward and said this is a hoax. So, and of course, the reason you even mention hoax is because that's the only possibility, the only alternative there is to that fact that this happened, actually happened.